number of them, particularly the Eurozone ones, down to the tune of 2.5% and falling further this afternoon.
Yeah, a similar story here, a 1-2% fall plus, and that was Hong Kong. The Hang Seng Index down, Nina, on everything we've just mentioned above. So as you see there, the sell-off certainly not lacking any legs here in Asia this day.
So it's a down day for Asia's stock markets, but rice prices, though, are on the up for 2012, especially in Indonesia. And that, in turn, has got the government over there campaigning for a little more variety in people's diets for the sake of the economy as well as public health. Here's CNN's Christy Lou Stout.
Tuesday is No Rice Day in Depok, a city just outside Jakarta. In this public canteen, alternatives like potatoes or cassava are offered with the usual fare of chicken satay or spicy beef. It's part of a government push to cut down on rice consumption.
Oleh karena itu, kalau kita bisa menganjurkan dan sukses untuk
If we succeed in encouraging them to reduce their consumption of rice and shift to other sources of carbohydrates, and of course it's more healthy, such as papaya or banana or other tubers, our hope, besides having economic stability, is to later have a positive impact on our health.
It's a tough sell, and so far, only some public servants are heeding his call.
kita juga senang sih.
We are happy. There is one day a week when we don't eat rice. The main thing is to train ourselves not to eat too much rice, so we can eat other things. If we get used to it, then we might get used to not eating rice.
Indonesia is the world's fourth largest consumer of rice. The average person consumes 140 kilograms of it every year. Trade Minister Gita Wirjawan has made it a personal campaign to convince people to consume less rice, which he says will help cut down on imports and at the same time help people lose weight.
If we were to alter or reduce consumption of rice on a per capita per year basis by 40 kilograms, hypothetically from 140 to 100, that would mean a saving of 10 million tons of rice. It's that easy, or it's that difficult. Many Indonesians think it is challenging to reduce our rice consumption, but look at me, I've lost weight.
Hello. Indonesia was the largest importer of rice until it officially banned imports in 2004. Limited quantities are periodically allowed in, but imports reached a peak in 2011. This year, officials predict imports of just more than 1 million tons.
We've been too fixated with the supply side of the the economics of it. We have not touched upon the demand side of it, because the supply side of it is a lot more difficult. You have to get new land, you have to get new technology to ramp up productivity.
But experts argue rice production still needs to increase significantly in the next 30 years to feed a growing population. Some studies show a shift among mostly urban dwellers toward eating other kinds of food. But for Indonesia's poor, rice is still the largest single source of calories and nutrients. For them, eating rice is a necessity and not a matter of choice.
If we substitute it with fruits, it's 50,000 rupiah per kilo. We could finish it at once. But if we buy a liter of rice for 6,000 rupiah, it could feed the whole family and could last longer.
It will take more than taking rice off the menu for one day to convince those who do have a choice.
I'm used to eating white rice. I was surprised there's no one selling rice here, only the rice substitute. I cancelled my order of satay here because there's no rice with it.
After all, for many here, a meal with no rice is no meal at all. Christy Lou Stout, CNN.
Old habits die hard there. Well, you saw Indonesia's trade minister in that report, and now Gita Wirjawan joins us live from our Jakarta bureau. Minister, thanks very much for joining us. I just wanted to pick up on something that report points out, that rice does remain a cheap and nutritious meal for your country's poor people. There is no alternative, is there? So the success of your campaign can only be limited.
Well, it's going to take time, but nobody's saying that it's not nutritious. But what we're trying to say is that I think on a per capita per year basis, we're consuming a little bit more than some of our brothers and sisters in other parts of Southeast Asia. I think there's some room for us to go on that front. Now, to the extent we can do that, I think we'll be in a much better position in terms of our not having to import as much as we have been while we're trying to ramp up production and productivity, which certainly will take a lot more time.
I mean, how concerned are you about the country's finances and reliance on the imports of rice? Is it a food security issue for Indonesia, or is it a finance issue?
It is
sort of the cost of.
It is. I think it is a combination of this being a food security issue and also a health issue. I think we need to make reference also to the fact that Indonesia is the fourth largest diabetic country by way of the excessive consumption of carbohydrates. Much of that comes from rice. The other part comes from sugar consumption. I think to the extent that we can do something about it, from a supply and demand standpoint, we'll be much better off. Plus, there have been precedents and examples of success of eating alternatives. We have cities like Chirende in the western province of Java, where people, the whole community have been eating cassava since 1918, all day long. So it is something that actually people could consider practicing. It's something that I've practiced in the last 2.5 months, and I've lost 8 kilograms. And
Okay.
There are ways to go around eating rice, but I don't think it's much of a finance issue as much as it is a food security and also a health issue.
All right, I want to move on because it's not often that we get the Indonesian Trade Minister on the show. I want to ask you a broader question. You are just in the process of speeding up, fast-tracking negotiations on a free trade agreement between Indonesia and India. How important is India going to be to the Indonesian growth story?
India is a very, very big market. It's a $2 trillion economy, while Indonesia has just surpassed the $1 trillion economy on a combined basis with $3 trillion worth of GDP. That's a lot of size for us to do trading with each other. As a matter of fact, their trade minister, Mr. Anand Sharma, who's in town in Jakarta, he and I have just been discussing about how to go forward on how to boost trade. From a trade standpoint, last year we hit an all-time record with India at slightly over 20 billion US. And at the peak of our president's visit in New Delhi in January last year, we made a pact and commitment to ramp up trade to $25 billion by 2015. The way the data points are looking, it looks like we may have to revise that target upward at the rate that the complementarities and the similarities between the two economies do present huge opportunities for us to trade with each other.
All right, I'd just like to ask you also about Indonesia's growth rate last year, the strongest in 15 years, when a lot of other economies were shrinking or plateauing at least. Given the fact that you still have major infrastructure issues, given the fact that an export market like the Eurozone is going to be weak, plus you've got high oil prices, even though you are somewhat of an oil producer, how difficult are these headwinds going to make it to sustain this sort of growth this year?
Well, if we take a look at the economy in Indonesia, one of the main reasons why we were able to remain somewhat unscathed from the external shocks that we're seeing is that a good chunk of our GDP is related to domestic consumption. Around 60% of our GDP relates to domestic consumption. And at the rate that, we are demographically with dividends for the next 5 to 10 years, I think we're going to be able to remain as a consumptive community. And that will, I think, help, boost our economy. Now, on the topic of infrastructure, you can't build roads overnight. It will take time. And what I think will accelerate infrastructure development is the passage of the land law, which basically was undertaken last December in 2011. Now we're just awaiting the promulgation of the government regulation, which will detail out the procedures. And the good thing about this land law is that it provides certainty with respect to the timing within which the government will jump in to clear the land, and also the price at which people will have to pay. And those two criteria or parameters will give, I think, a lot of clarity to any businessman or woman who wants to build roads and other infrastructures in Indonesia. I think in the near foreseeable future, you will see a very different color, from an infrastructure standpoint.
All right, Minister, thanks so much for joining us. We're going to have to leave it there. Gita Wirjawan, thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks, Andrew.
You're watching World Business Today. We're going to take a short break. We'll be back in just a moment.